physical infrastructure. So let's understand how AWS global infrastructure is scattered across and how they are geographically covering all the different customers. Now, AWS data centers are available in almost 32 regions. See, region is their topmost um, uh, coverage. I think they have around 32 launched regions. Okay, and they have got around physical data centers. They call it as availability zones. So they have got around 102 plus data centers. So region is a geographical location. Okay, geographic location. It's a physical location, and this is a physical data center. So zone is equal to data center. And if in case you are running some applications or if you want to connect with AWS data centers, they have got around multiple POP locations or points of presence where I think they are around 500 plus points of presence. And if you want to do some application hosting or integration, there are also a lot of regional cache and so on. So now there are another I think 12 data centers which are being coming up or going to come up in the very near future, and maybe around 4 or 5 regions are going to get added. So when I say region, just for an example, see Canada, Malaysia, Thailand, New Zealand. So these are all some locations that are coming up, especially in Asia. We are going to get at least 3 to 4 new region and data centers. Like it will be a multiple availability zone within their data center. So if you want to understand all these stuffs in details, you can also go and look into a particular website. I'll just show you that. Just a second. So if you go to infrastructure.aws, okay, you will get to understand how many current regions we have, because the numbers will change very frequently. So as on date, you can see that these are the different regions in North America itself, and in Asia Pacific, you have got different coverage. Right, in India itself, you can see that there are 2 different region, and you can get to understand when it was launched and how many physical data center it has got in that particular location. See, last year we had this Hyderabad location, right? They came with 3 physical data centers in Hyderabad alone. And similarly in Mumbai, this was launched 7 years back, and we have got 3 availability zone and 2 local zone. So I'll explain what are these local zones and stuff. So if you want to understand which locations and where exactly AWS is available, you can go and look into this aws.amazon.com/global infrastructure, or you can just type infrastructure.aws. This link will take you to the list of sites that are being offered. So AWS is offering 200 plus fully featured services across these data centers. Most of those services are available in all the regions and availability zone. So AWS global infrastructure, it is more secure, and it has got a extensive security mechanisms. So they've got multiple physical guardrails to avoid any kind of mishaps in their data center. It is a very reliable data center. So they've got 7 or 8 layers of physical security. And there are millions of customers actively using these regions, and there are a lot of partners, 50,000 plus partners who are reselling this particular AWS offering. So now we will get to understand each of these terms one by one. So we will start with regions, and we will get to understand each of these things one by one. Now, so at a very high level, we have this regions, right? And regions, you can just think of region as a kind of separate physical location. And within this physical location, we have a group of data centers that form this region. And unlike other cloud providers, so AWS doesn't, or like okay, so here region is a collection of data center. Okay, it's a collection of availability zones. Availability zones means data centers, physical data centers. So it is a physical location with multiple data center. Okay, so here each of these availability zone will have its own independent power, cooling, and networking infrastructure. So each physical data center will have independent power, cooling, and networking infra. So which means if there is a cooling issue in one data center, it will not impact the other availability zone in that particular region. So you can configure redundancy for your application by hosting your applications in different availability zone. If you have two applications running in two different data center, so if there is a power issue or networking issue or security breach, the issue will not impact your other applications running on a different availability zone. So this is going to help you with very high availability. Okay, and that's the reason it is named as availability zone. This is to increase your availability, and obviously you will get more redundancy in terms of networking and the availability of your services. And all these availability zones within that particular physical region, they are very highly, or like they will have a very high throughput. Okay, very high throughput will be available between these data centers, between this availability zone. And when you connect two different applications, you will have ultra low latency. So in few seconds of latency, millisecond latency, you will be able to replicate or synchronize two different application in two different availability zone. So if you are designing for high availability or fault tolerance or throughput, then you have to place your application in two different availability zone for greater fault tolerance. Okay, so Amazon region meets the highest level of security, compliance, and data protection. So how do I say that? See, if you go and look at AWS compliance offering, okay, they have whatever you think of in mind, all those compliance offering is available in AWS. Okay, so you think of HIPAA standards for your healthcare, PCI, payment card industry standard for your finance. So they've got 143 security standards, compliance, and legal certification. So this is the highest number of security standard that a cloud provider provides. So AWS has got the highest levels of security, data protection, and compliance standard. So you think of any industry vertical, automobile or manufacturing, or you think of any industry, they have got the particular compliance stuff covered. So you can just see these are all some of the important things that are being listed. This is for finance, this is for healthcare, this is for federal companies, this is the GDPR, FIPS. So it covers almost many different compliance restrictions, requirements across different industry vertical. I think I have a slide which has got the complete list of legal and security compliance offering. But let me check here just a second. So it can cover multiple different locations also. For example, in India, if you want to run government application, the government organization will look whether the data center has got MeitY certification. Ministry of Information Technology has approved it or not. So I'm not sure where I have kept that, but yeah, I'll show you what are the different legal security requirements we have got. Okay, so just go back here. Yeah, so we have got a lot of different compliance certifications, but if you want to get the report, you can get the artifact and documentation here. It is now available. Okay, so yeah, so you can see like what are the different data privacy use cases. If you want to understand, for if you want to have different compliance details, resources for each data center, you can also get that details here in the portal aws.amazon.com/compliance. You can go and get what are the different standards and compliance offering that we get in the global footprint of Amazon. So now see, region is a physical location which has got multiple physical data centers combined together to provide high availability for your resources. So now availability zone, as I told you, it is a physical discrete data center. It's a discrete separate data center which is having independent redundant power, networking, and connectivity in terms of storage as well as security operations. And this is mainly, right, it provides you the ability to improve the availability of your application, production applications and databases. So it is mainly for high availability, fault tolerance, and scalability. If in case you have some issues on one single data center, your application will not have any impact because you have duplication of your applications running in two different data center. So, and also at the second point, it is connected using very high dedicated metro connection. Dedicated metro fiber connection will be used to interconnect these two different fully redundant data center. So there will be a very low latency networking between the availability zone, and very important thing, all the data that is being sent across, the information being sent across the availability zone, it is by default, it is encrypted. So you don't have to explicitly do anything. All the traffic between availability zone, it's encrypted by default. And network performance also, if you want to have two different databases with synchronous replication or with a very quick uh, replication or synchronization, everything is synchronous. Synchronous replication means whatever copy you have in the primary data center, the other availability zone or the other data center will have the same exact data. There won't be any difference in the application partitioning and so on. So it's pretty easy, and they are very much isolated. If there is a natural disaster in terms of power outage or any lightning issues or tornadoes or earthquakes or any natural disaster, this can protect you from complete physical so it is completely isolated. Okay, so they are physically separated by a meaningful distance. See, unlike Microsoft Azure, they have the regions separated from each other. Okay, in Amazon, in Microsoft, okay, so they have two regions separated by 200 miles or 300 miles between each other. This is at the regional level, whereas Amazon, they have deployed their availability zone in such a way, each of these availability zone are at least 100 kilometers, not miles, okay, 100 kilometers different from each other. So if you are talking about miles, I think it is 60 miles, I guess. So 60 miles is the standard. They will have a physical separation of 100 kilometer from each other. Even if there is a lightning strike or a tornado or a power outage, it will not impact the other availability zone. So Amazon has segregated their physical data centers from each other, whereas Microsoft, they have segregation at the regional level. So they have one region in central India, which is like Mumbai and Pune, they have got, and then in the South India side, they have Chennai. But here, Amazon has got two regions, one in Hyderabad and the other one in Mumbai. Okay, so these are all having a separate connectivity, separate security measures. They have separate network connections, power connections, cooling infrastructure, and so on. And again, you should not assume that all the services, all the products are available in all the regions. So before you are giving a solution to the customer, you need to come and check what are the different set of services, products that are being offered by Amazon in a particular region or data center. So that details you will be having in the infrastructure.aws, or you have this AWS, just a second, AWS service charts. So not this one. 1 second. Not this one. I think, yeah, this is having it. Okay, 102 availability zone, 32 region. Again, we are getting the same data. I think this is the site. Regional table is there, and the product table is there. See, if you are providing solution for a particular customer, you have to come and check what are the different services that are available for each and every different geographical location. So you will get it here. So if I go and search for a particular product and services, you will get to understand from where you are getting those popular services and so on. So if I just go to Amazon EC2, okay, so you will get to understand more details about each and every services. And if you go to this regional table, you will also get to understand which services are available in which data centers and which ones are not available in a particular thing. For example, Amazon IoT Analytics is not available in that particular Ningxia region. So you can go and you have to find which services and products are available before solutioning for a particular customer. Now, you have got multiple availability zone, multiple region, and so on. And as a customer, see, we should do this latency testing from the customer location. See, if they have their data center or server room in a particular location, you have to log into their system, and then you have to go and do a AWS speed test, or you can go and do a latency test. I think this one is good. And you also have this one latency test, which is also a good tool through which you can identify which one is a better region or a better geography for AWS. Okay, for example, I'm in India, right? If I'm doing a latency testing from India to, I mean, from a Chennai to Mumbai, Hyderabad, and maybe let's say North Virginia is cheaper, right? I'm just selecting these three options. So I'll get to understand which one is coming with lower latency. Obviously, if you think geographically, Hyderabad is closer to me. But then you're looking at the network latency connectivity from my location. See, I mean, it is over the time, it is changing. But yeah, see, this is how you can find a latency test. Not just this, you can also go and use the Chat GPT application or some other upload and download to find out how much time it takes and what kind of latency we have, what kind of throughput we have, and so on, and decide from the customer data center to AWS which one is the fastest, and you can select the AWS data center. So you can do like a couple of things. One, you can do a kind of which one can be primary and secondary. So you can go and do a parent region round trip test, and based on the result you will be able to identify which physical availability zone is better for you. So it also gives you availability zone level. 1A is a physical data center, physical availability zone. And you can also get a round trip for your each and every region also. See, this is how you will get a detailed thing from Chennai, India. You have option to connect to all these physical data centers and location. See, they are preferring you to go with if you are opting for local zone. I'll explain what is local zone. They are giving you option for Delhi, and there is a local zone in Kolkata. See, in I mean, these are all like important headquarters, right? Delhi is a kind of headquarters where we have a lot of business transaction happening. And as on date, if a customer or a business owner has to run an application, they are running it from where? They are running it from Mumbai or possibly from Hyderabad. So what Amazon as a company thought of doing, they thought of bringing those highly demanding application with very less latency closer to the customer base. For example, in Chennai, we might have a lot of industrial area, right? We might have a lot of business happening, and if you want to have Amazon services with lower latency, so what they have done is like they have created a local zone where they will give only the foundational services, for example selective services, closer to the end user. So that is what they call it as local zone. So local zone is available in multiple locations like Delhi, Kolkata, and important cities. So what they are doing is they are placing only, they will bring essential services. So not all the products and services will be available. They will bring essential services closer to end users data center. So it will be with very less single digit millisecond latency. So these applications, whatever on or high demand apps will be made available with very less latency. See, for an example, if you are a gaming company, or if you are doing some kind of media streaming, or if you are a company where you want to send some automation data or machine learning data to your applications. So what they are doing is they are bringing these local zone closest to your industry, to your manufacturing company location, or wherever exactly you have the factory or your outlet. They are bringing it closer to that. So this is mainly used by companies who are doing a lot of media or entertainment related stuffs, where they are uploading a lot of new videos, content and stuff. And there is a lot of real-time gaming related companies, and for simulations where you have chemical factories, or you have some electronic e-design automation companies. So this is mainly useful for them wherever machine learning, IoT is very important. This local zone, you can call it as a extension of AWS region. Okay, so they are only bringing the sensitive application which are network latency sensitive. For example, EC2, EBS volumes, file storage, load balancers. So these things will be available in your local zone. So you can, in simple, you can mention local zone is an extension of AWS region, and they are bringing the essential services closer to your data center in locations like let me give you the names. So if I just close this, let me get you the list of, just a second, because even I did not look at the complete list recently. Okay, so see what local zones offer. So these are the different locations that we have in India. If you look at, okay, these are all upcoming ones. Kolkata has got one. Okay, see in Kolkata, which are the services they are offering? So they are offering these services on the top: ELB, load balancers, container services, Kubernetes services, VPC, direct connect. So only limited services will be available in that local zone. So you also need to understand which services that they are offering, and you need to allow the customers from Delhi or Kolkata to use those services which are very highly demanding. So local zone is an extension of AWS region. So this is mainly to help important cities to benefit the offering that is being given by the public cloud provider. And yeah, go ahead if there is a question.
Yes, Kalesh, this is Kalesh. What is the difference between edge location and availability zone?
Yeah, I'll come to that. See, edge location, I'm yet to explain. Okay, so availability zone is a
Yeah,
physical
oh,
data center, but edge location I'll explain. Yeah.
so that particular region, it can maximum how many regions?
So maximum you have got, see, this is the count, right? So you have got around 32 region in AWS where they are having services. So if you like come to this diagram, so if you look at here, so these are the different regions that they have got. Total of maybe like around 4, 7, 10 regions in Asia Pacific, and they have scattered across other locations. Total of 32 regions is what they have.
Okay, yeah, there is no maximum and minimum availability zone for a particular region, right?
Yeah, in each region you will have multiple data centers. That is correct. Yes. Okay, fine. So now coming to, I'll explain your question. So you asked about the edge location, right? That is what we call it as cloud front. I'll come to that. But before that, so local zone, it is an extension of AWS AWS region, where you have the services which are essential will be brought closer to the business locations or business cities like Delhi, Kolkata, and important metro cities. Now, the next one is actually there is a solution called wavelength zone, or wavelength, AWS wavelength. So this is mainly for AWS offering for targeted for developers. See, as I told you in the historical stuff, when Amazon was launched in 2010 itself, a lot of developers felt the AWS is a very good platform to develop a lot of applications and stuffs which is targeted to mobile applications or web applications or end user consumption. There is a lot of development work that can be done on AWS platform. So what Amazon as a company they facilitated, they actually gave a service called Wavelength. This is mainly to build application and offer apps for mobile devices, web devices and stuffs. This is mainly for build applications by developers, and they can offer it with single digit latency, millisecond latency. This is mainly for the direct end users, mobile applications or mobile users and so on. So this is mainly a solution where developers can log in and deploy their application to wavelength zone, and through this wavelength zone they can also integrate with different backend solutions like compute EC2 instance or containers or storage. If they need some data to be put into Amazon S3, these wavelength zone can act as a front end for delivering your application, and on the back end you can also integrate with different compute network and storage services that are being offered by AWS regions. Again, it is an extension of your region, AWS wavelength zones or an extension of AWS region, but this is mainly to allow your applications to be developed and deployed with integration to compute services like EC2 instance, containers, Lambda, and storage and networking services. So you can use the benefit of the backend storage and compute from AWS, whereas you can just develop your application and you can allow this application to be accessed by end users, mainly the gaming companies and live video streaming companies, machine learning inferencing companies, this artificial intelligence and virtual reality companies. They are using the wavelength zone very heavily. Okay, so especially the gaming companies, artificial or augmented reality or virtual reality companies, augmented or virtual reality companies are using it, and even some companies who does a live video streaming like Netflix or even Amazon has their own offering, right? So ML inference. So if there is a lot of IoT integration or machine learning integration like Google Maps or different services are there, right? If you want to bring those applications closer to end users, so these applications can be developed and they can put it on AWS wavelength zone so that the end users or the mobile providers or the mobile devices can access these things very quickly. So AWS, what they have done is they have implemented 5G plus edge network on these particular wavelength zone to minimize the latency of the application connectivity from your mobile devices or from your IoT devices or machine learning devices. So this is mainly to quickly access. This provides a very good connection. So end users or like the developers can have a lot of benefits by developing and running their application on this wavelength zone. So now so as I told you the other day, AWS also has got a private cloud offering. So when I say private cloud, so some customers they cannot come to public cloud because of the legal requirement. Their compliance security requirements does not allow them to come to public space. They cannot go locate their applications, or they cannot host their applications in with other customers. They cannot share the infrastructure primarily. Okay, if they want to bring all the native AWS characteristics or services and infrastructure to their own data center, AWS is offering a concept or an offering called Outpost. Okay, AWS Outposts is nothing but private cloud offering for customers. It's a private cloud. Customers can get all native AWS products, services in their own data center. Okay, it's mainly to bring the cloud characteristics or the AWS offering to their own data center. Now, on the on-premises data center, you will have the same AWS APIs to connect to AWS platform. You will have the same tools, management tools, infrastructure will be something very similar to how you are getting a truly cloud hybrid experience. You can also integrate your Outpost with AWS in the backend, so you will have a lot of your business critical or mission critical application, wherever you want to store your data or data processing has to happen locally in your data center, you can do it in AWS Outpost. The stuffs which can be put on public cloud, you can bring it to AWS platform. So this is a kind of hybrid offering which you can utilize. Now coming to the question which was asked, I think Kalidas asked a question about what is the difference between availability zone and the edge network, right, or the edge zone. So here in AWS we call it as CloudFront, right? That is the branding that they have, or the name that they use for the edge locations. So CloudFront, so what you can think of CloudFront, it's like it's a network location where you can improve the way that you are connecting to your web applications or a web service. So CloudFront, you can just say this is a web service. It improves the latency, or okay, in other way, it is like you can, I'll give an example. Okay, so for example, if you are having your web applications or business applications running in Mumbai, and if your end users are connecting from Chennai or Bangalore, see, they might have a lot of latency. See, if the first user accesses the content, so all the data has to get the dynamic content, especially, right, the CSS page or the HTML pages. So all these image files has to get locally cached, and it will be distributed to that particular user one. But then if you want to improve the distribution of the static and dynamic web content, so what you can do is you can start catching all the frequently used data from the region to the end user location. So in the end user location, using the CloudFront, we are creating a edge location, or a location where you can do the catching of the frequently accessed data. So whatever data you are frequently accessing, what it will do is the data will get distributed from the edge location. Okay, distribution of the static and dynamic web contents. When I say static and dynamic web content, it can be cascading files, or HTML or XML files, or even some images, heavy images, audio, video, some JS files. So all these files will be cached locally in that particular edge location. And if user 2 is accessing the same content, they will not go to the actual AWS region to get the data. Instead, the CloudFront will start serving the data which is actually cached in the nearby edge location. This is mainly to deliver the data with less latency, and with to improve the performance. It improves the performance of the user connection by catching the data, and thereby reducing the latency. Okay, so if the content is already available in the edge location, you will the CloudFront will deliver the content instead of the AWS region providing the content to your end user. See, for example, if hundreds of users are using the Netflix subscription from AWS, so not every media package or media content will be coming from AWS region. Instead, it will be coming from the nearest catching location, or the edge location, or the CloudFront location. So the end users of Netflix or the AWS customers will get all the cached content from the nearby edge location locally in their region. Okay, maybe it might be Bangalore or Chennai. There will be a lot of, even Hyderabad. There is a lot of edge locations where you can get the contents cached and delivered. So this is mainly to improve the performance, or the access the web content with lower latency. And also, you also significantly save a lot of data transfer cost, because you are collecting and storing all the data, frequently used data, in a local location. So this is little different. This is to improve the end user experience while accessing the web application or media applications. Does it answer your question, Kalidas?
Yes, and one more thing, so that edge location mainly used for the static content, or if I am
No,
going
even
to deploy the one application. Sorry.
both static and dynamic content. Okay, even if something gets changed frequently, even that will also get cached. See, static is the content which is more static in nature. Even some dynamic contents will also get cached and distributed. See, there are many regional edge caches. There are many point of presence. I think if you ask me how many edge locations, see there is alternate words also for this. Okay, they also call it as points of presence, pop location. It is all the same. Okay, edge location, pop location, CloudFront location. I think they have got around 500 plus edge locations, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so point of presence. This is the same. Okay, CloudFront, edge location, all these are the same. I think local zone.
Stan,
Yeah, go ahead.
coming again with the edge location query, and yeah, understand we have the availability zone and regions.
Hmm.
So edge locations, as you mentioned, give the examples of Netflix or any other frequently accessed data. It's like a just caching location,
Hmm.
and here we cannot get the services and all right. Services are available only from like Hyderabad or Bombay,
True, true.
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Not.
So, yeah, you get services from the zone. Okay. So, for example, from the availability zone, you get every single products and services, and from the local zone, you get the most frequently used products and services from the local zone. Yeah, you can get it only from the main region or the local zone. Yeah. So, edge zone will only cache the content only for the time that you have allowed to catch. There will be a time to live until that time the catching will be there.
Okay, so even see now we see an example like Netflix or Amazon Prime or kind of streaming kind of thing.
Mhm.
So whereas for our let's say in our company we have like a 4 or 5 EC2 servers we are frequently accessing. So those content will not be comes under edge location, right? So those things.
No, no. So this is mainly to improve the end user experience while accessing the web applications. So not at the see even you can configure it. I'll tell you. So see if you are doing a kind of replication or synchronization to AWS S3 or whatever. See if you have a
Okay.
server, if you want to connect that server to let's say AWS S3. So there they give you two options. One, you can go through the AWS Global Accelerator, or you can directly connect through the internet. And this testing will tell you if you go over the internet, what is the latency it takes, and if you go via the caching or the global accelerated solution, what is the kind of time it takes. So the global acceleration solution is used by your servers or application, whereas edge locations are targeted for end users. So this is a similar solution for improving the data connectivity or data transfer from your server or application to AWS database or AWS storage concept. So if you look at here from our location, maybe let's see where exactly. So this is giving you latency testing from different locations. So I mean, for your question, yeah, it is mainly for end users, but if you are going to transfer data from your server or application to AWS S3 or AWS storage, then you can use the global accelerator solution, which will help you to use the AWS network backbone to send the data transfer. So instead of sending the data through internet, you can use Amazon network connection to send the data. So that is like they call it as point of presence, or you can connect your data center to their edge locations to improve the connectivity. So this will give you some idea. So let's do some,
Okay, sure.
maybe I'll just transfer only 50 KB data, and then see if you are transferring 50 KB data through the internet, it will tell you how much millisecond it takes, and it will tell you how much millisecond it takes for global route. So you can send the data 45% faster than going through the internet route. So this is mainly to use AWS backbone instead of the internet backbone. Okay, there is another solution that you can leverage. So you can also configure a global accelerator to improve the data transfer from your application or server to AWS. So this is, I mean, yeah, first point, this is mainly for end user experience. So when user one is accessing the data without a CloudFront, the user one will go to the region and get the data back using, I mean, all the static and dynamic contents. And user two is accessing the same application. Again, it will go to the region and get the data. So to avoid such latency for each and every user connection, what you can do is you can configure caching on your CloudFront or in your point of presence, where it will start catching all the frequently accessed data, and it will improve the end user experience. Okay, so now
Okay, still another one here. So might be it's a kind of a silly question. So like, I have one concern. Like, you see, if you have any network issue, how we need to point out here. So what is the precautions we have to take from here?
Okay, see, there are various networking concepts, right? So you can connect to AWS using a VPN, point-to-site VPN or site-to-site VPN. You have direct connect options. You have got various networking option. So each of these networking concepts has to be dealt in a different way. You cannot have a generic mechanism, but yeah, I'll help you with different networking connections and how do we troubleshoot when there is a issue with each of those connections. For now, like
Okay.
these are all some options which you can leverage from their geographical availability. See, AWS is making their product services in different ways. So that is what we are trying to understand now. So if you want to have all the AWS products and services in your own data center, you have to use Outpost. If you want to have developers better experience with their application making available to end users, you can go for Wavelength. So we are trying to help each businesses operate better with the AWS infrastructure, global infrastructure. So I'll come to that question again, Adhavan. Okay, I've made a note of that. So during the networking session,
Yeah.
I'll explain it in detail. Yeah. So the next
Yeah.
one,
Thanks.
sure. The next one is AWS Ground Station. Okay, this is another solution which some of the companies can use. Okay, I know like in when it comes to exam, you can just focus only on region and availability zone. Okay, not more than that. So I'm just trying to give you some more insight on the different AWS offering where different customers can use it. See, nowadays, like a lot of companies, lot of if you take automobile industry, they are coming up with their own integrated devices in their car. For example, if you take Nissan, they have their own application called Leaf, which will be deployed in their car, right? That will get connected to maps. They will get connected to satellite for the current status. So they are getting connected to satellites. So lot of dependencies are now getting uh, there are a lot of dependencies towards satellite communication and the way that we process the data, and we are giving that information to different customers. See, not only for automobile, even for manufacturing or different industry vertical, they are highly relying upon a lot of information that is coming from the satellite. Now what Amazon as a company has done is they have deployed these ground station to improve the data connectivity or to get the data fastly available for the applications that are hosted on AWS region. So ground station is a fully managed service that helps control the satellite communication, process the data coming out of the satellite, quickly made available to your applications which are depending on those satellite information, like your maps, or if you are watching something directly live streaming or accessing data directly from the satellite. If you are taking weather forecasting, if you are providing surface images to customers, if you are doing a video broadcasting to different customers. So AWS ground station, it is a collection of global satellite network that helps you with improving the experience of the customers who is dependent on satellite communication. So ground station helps customers improve the experience of data processing and delivery of those data to end customers dependent on satellite communication data. So if you are sending some images for weather pattern, or if you are sending some data for current live location tracking or GPS tracking, or if you are sending some live telecast or video telecasting across the globe, so you need a very good low latency global fiber network. And what Amazon has done is they have deployed multiple ground stations across the globe to help customers like who are dependent on weather forecasting, video streaming, and this maps, right? Live location tracking or GPS stuff, and surface imaging companies, or communications, broadcasting companies. So all these companies are getting a lot of benefits from this ground stations, which is again a solution from AWS. See, AWS has got multiple layers in their data center. So if you go to their data center, they have got multiple different stuffs. Not only these are all some offerings. Okay, so AWS ground station is a solution that will be useful for customers who are into whether automobile, video streaming, and different manufacturing and so on. Similarly, CloudFront is a solution for improving the end user experience by catching the frequently used data. This is a private cloud offering through which you can have AWS kind of products and services, the look and feel, the APIs from AWS on your own data center. Wavelength is mainly for the developers who can develop and provide their application with low latency, and they can also integrate their application with AWS backbone services very quickly. Local zone is bringing the AWS essential services closest to your end users data centers or end user what you call industrial area and so on. Availability zone is a physical region from AWS where you have separate independent cooling, power, networking and stuff. Region is a physical location from where AWS is offering all their products and services. So these are the stuffs which you need to be aware of as of now. Okay, so when you take the region or the availability zone again within AWS data center, okay, so you have multiple layers, data center layers. We call it as infrastructure layer. So infrastructure layer is the core data center building, right? In this core data center building, so you will have the power, and when I say power, power will be uh, backed by generators, batteries, and these are all something. If there is a longer power outage, these generators, batteries can help us a backup power equipment. See, for example, you have to bring your applications gracefully down, right? If there is a sudden interrupt to your applications or database, there are a lot of chances of information data getting corrupted. So these power equipment, the HVAC system and the suppression equipment, they are all designed to help protect their systems, servers, data in a kind of safe and secure way. So there are a lot of components at the infrastructure layer which can help your systems from any natural disaster, earthquake, or there are a lot of equipments in the data center which will help you prevent from data getting corrupted or information getting corrupted. So infrastructure layer, you have this data center building, and within that you will have multiple internet connections to different geographical provider. So for example, in a AWS data center, most of their data centers are tier 4 or tier 4 plus, which means they have at least 4 different telecommunication provider providing network communication connection to that particular data center. So even if one particular telecom provider is down, or if one particular connectivity is down, they will, you as a customer, you will still have access through alternate telecommunication provider. Similarly, there will be a lot of sources for water, for cooling infrastructure and stuff. There will be a lot of different power inlet. You'll get solar power, nuclear power, wind power from electrical grid. So there will be a lot of varieties of power inlets for your physical data center. So in order to maintain continuous services operations, so even if there is a power supply interruption in your electrical grid, still your data center will continue to provide services. The reason is they have alternate mechanism to get power from solar or wind power or nuclear power based on the region. Whatever is available for better cost and better service, they will also use it. So this is what they call it as physical infrastructure layer. And the next layer is called perimeter layer. So perimeter layer is more on the security side, so where you will have a lot of surveillance cameras, a lot of physical inspection devices. When a particular person is entering AWS data center location, there will be a security operations team. There will be a lot of additional people. They are called escort, right? Or they call it as guard, who will always be there with the person who is going to come and change the failed disk or failed hardware or whatever. So you cannot just like that go and enter into their data center. You will have to raise at least 3 or 4 different forms to get a security guard, to get access to a particular server or whatever, right? So they call it as caging process. You will get only access to the server or the network or the storage where you are going to replace the disk or replace the failed component or the failed port. You will get access only to that particular cage where that particular server or particular storage is kept. You will not get access to the entire rack or the entire system. So the caging process allows you to just open it out, open the only hardware where the issue is actually. So not just that, even on the perimeter layer, you have a lot of fencing, and you have a lot of intrusion prevention devices, intrusion detection devices. A lot of security devices are available. When I say fencing, see, when there is a natural earthquake or a bomb blast, so this fencing has got mechanism to protect that particular impact going and spreading across a different location or data center. So there is a lot of surveillance cameras, security feeds, and there is a team which is more focused on cyber security. Okay, so Microsoft and Amazon, they are doing a very high investment in cyber security. They have a security operations team, SOC team. Okay, so they are also around 24/7 team, which is like they are responsible for monitoring any, executing any security program, triaging, or if there is a vulnerability getting spread, they will kind of take care of all those things, and access management, intrusion detection. So this is a 24/7 global team which will maintain all the security activities happening on all the data center. So a SOC team, cyber security team, is part of the perimeter group, which takes care of all the activities. Now the next layer we call it as let me just put it like this, infrastructure layer. In simple words, infrastructure is nothing but your compute, physical server, storage, network devices. All those will come under your infrastructure. Next layer we have is the data layer. Data layer is where you store all your information, the storage devices, the customer data, right? The business, the customer data will have to be stored here. See here, for better segregation, so you can have role-based access control, or you can provide access using IAM. So you will get access only to that particular data which you are supposed to get access. There will be a lot of surveillance, video surveillance, encryption techniques that will be used to protect these at the storage level, physical storage level, and even at the logical level. You also have a lot of mechanism to monitor and have authorization and authentication to your data layer. So you have varieties of mechanisms. So based on IAM or using role-based access control, you can give fine-grained access control to your specific data. Now the next layer is nothing but your network layer. Okay, network layer, it is again a combination of multiple networking switches, routers, and stuff. AWS as a company, they are also providing you transoceanic cabling. Okay, when I say transoceanic cabling, so as I told you, AWS has got 32 regions across the globe, right? And all these 32 regions are interconnected to each other using AWS owned or Amazon owned transoceanic cabling. Okay, so these cables are owned by AWS, and these are the cables that connects AWS region from one region from another region. So these are all like 100 Gbps network like network circuit, which helps you to kind of provide very reliable, low latency, high throughput networking. So it is AWS owned networking. They are having this particular tens of thousands of kilometers covered using this over the sea and over the land as well. And there are several parallel connections. Okay. See, for example, if one connectivity from one region to another region is impact, there will be another route which will take. There is a routing concept, or they use all modern routing protocols, which helps you to go via another cabling. See, there is a cable which covers 14,000 kilometers from Australia, New Zealand location to Oregon. There is a separate cabling connection. So they call it as what is the name? Trans-Pacific cabling. Okay, Trans-Pacific cabling is like 14,000, or I'll just say 14,000 kilometers between Oceania region. Oceania is nothing but your Australia and New Zealand gets connected to Oregon using a separate network connection. Okay, so all the data, whatever flows between the region, between these availability zone, it is within the AWS network connection. So you have a lot of options to enable transport layer security in your connection. These are all highly concurrent, redundant connections. Even if one connection goes down, there is alternate way for your data to reach the other region. So these are all highly configured with the latest modern protocols. So AWS has its own networking layer, which is managed and maintained by them. And obviously, to overcome any natural environmental risk, like water flooding or extreme weather conditions or any seismic earthquakes or whatever, AWS has got mechanism to overcome that. So they have a lot of tools, technologies to maintain and manage a sustainable environment. They are also focused on um, renewable energy. They are also giving a lot of environmental economies, or like they are also reducing the carbon emissions. So they also want to have go green mechanisms in their own data center. So any physical environmental risk, water flooding, extreme weather conditions, seismic conditions, they have tools and devices. They have also built their physical data center. They have also selected their data center location and constructed their data center location to overcome these natural environmental risk also. So environmental layer, there is not much documentation available, but definitely Amazon has taken consideration to select the site and build the data center in such a way that can be sustainable, and also it helps you overcome any environmental challenges or risks when there is a issue. So AWS data centers are split into 5 different layers: infrastructure layer, perimeter layer, data layer, network layer, and environmental layer. This is almost the same for Microsoft also, but then Microsoft has used some of their existing data centers for cloud offering, but then Amazon has built all these data centers from ground zero when they started their AWS journey. So in each and every AWS availability zone, you have all these 5 different layers managed and maintained by a separate team. And very important thing is the networking layer, where you get a lot of low latency networking, very high bandwidth. So that is the very important thing. The bandwidth is very high. You get very good low latency connections, and it is also fully redundant. That is another important thing. If one connection goes down, you have another dedicated metro fiber connection or alternate connection through which you can send your application data. And these availability zones are completely partitioned from one another. Even if there is a lightning strike or a tornado or an earthquake, no, both the availability zones will not get impacted because they are isolated and protected in such a way. For example, if we have one data center in Hyderabad, we will not have the same in the same coastal area. Even same thing Microsoft has done, right? They have got one data center in Chennai and the other in Mumbai. So which means they have one in the southern coast or like east coast, and the other one on the western coast. Same in the US, right? They have got east US and west US region to avoid any disaster. The monsoon is different for eastern coast and the western coast, right? So that's how they design it. So there are a lot of factors that they have taken into consideration when they have built the data centers and location. So these are all some generic information, but you should, as an architect, you need to understand how they have globally made their data centers available for each and every customer. This is how AWS has constructed their physical infrastructure or physical data center for different customers to host their services. So it is having multiple layers, and they are concerned about security. They have a separate dedicated team, SOC team and cybersecurity team, who take care of these stuff. So this is how the AWS global infrastructure is organized. And any questions on these stuff? Okay, so I think we're already 8 minutes over the scheduled time. So we will continue to discuss. Okay, we will also continue to discuss how we can do a lot of other stuffs. I will also show you how to create AWS account, how to subscribe their services and so on in tomorrow's session. Okay, so today what we have done is we have discussed about the different services that are being offered by AWS into different grouping. We also understood how the geographical infrastructure is provided by AWS, what are the different categories, and we discussed about the history of Amazon, how they started their AWS journey, and we discussed few points, 7 points around cloud disadvantage. So any questions around these topics so far? Okay, if not, we will connect tomorrow and we will start with how to create a AWS account, how to subscribe for their services, how to use their products and so on. Okay, I'll stay here for 2 more minutes to understand if there is any question. If there are no questions in English, if you have questions in Tamil or if you want to ask it in Tamil, Tamil la kuda ipo question கேட்கலாம். I can also explain in Tamil, okay? If there is a question in Tamil, I can explain it in Tamil also to make you understand it better. So if there is no question, thank you for joining. Okay, we will connect again tomorrow at 9:30 to continue the session.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you all. No problem. I'll stop.